not too hot, not too cold, just right for poetry. My name is Sandra Turner Barnes, and I'm blessed to be the poet in residence and the host of the Poet's House. And I am delighted to see everyone here tonight. There's probably others that are on their way. There's been some changes in the day, but that's okay. That's okay. Say nice things for Miss Cynthia Primus, the president and owner, co-founder of this organization for the last 25 years, if not longer. And we've been partners in rhyme for all that time as well. This is a special evening, and we're a little out of order, but we're putting it together because it's going to do what it's going to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right.
I am going to warm up this mic before I introduce our special guests this evening. And then I want to see the hands of all the poets that will share. Come on, Miss Donna. Come on. Come on. All right. Wanda, you bring us something? I know you do.
Singers.
Yeah. Okay.
Singers and vocalists and singers.
Yeah. Our leader and our mama from Philly Johns is our special guest tonight. So you know we gotta show up for her.
Right now.
Right. Yes, indeed. Now, I still have some things in the car that I gotta get, but it's okay. What I'm going to do is to drop a quick poem. I think there's one in my mind somewhere. And then I'm going to bring up our poetic pie making percussionist. And she is going to warm up the stage in a magnificent way before we bring up our special guest and let her share her love with us. I know, baby. So, this poem I want to share with you defines the history of Black music. It tells you where it came from, because there's always a question about that. And so, as the rhythmic drums of the Congo were still fresh in his captured mind, his precious freedom and African breezes left so very far behind. A Black man caught hold of the moment and hid it away in his heart, knowing that someday in years to come, life would offer his seed a new start. Often wild tears would try to fall, but he would catch them in his hand and then rub them deep inside his soul. A wise and patient man. And he secretly wrote his sorrow in a silent song that he'd never get to sing, and all the joy he never felt was somewhere deep inside of him. Yes, he wrote his sorrow in a silent song that he'd never get to play, and all the joy he never felt, is somewhere deep inside us today. Here in this strange new land where his captors celebrated pain, he hid his rage behind a smile, and a docile servant he became. Lord, how he'd bow and scrape, laugh and grin and shuck and jive, doing everything he had to do to keep the next generation alive. And he'd even sing those old darky songs to help ease old Master's fear, singing, "Still way home to Jesus," while planning to steal far away from there. And he secretly wrote his sorrow in a silent song that he'd never get to sing, and all the joy he never felt was somewhere deep inside of him. Yes, he wrote his sorrow in a silent song that he'd never get to play, and all the joy he never felt is somewhere deep inside us today. And what about his black woman toiling just as hard night and day? Didn't she realize that he bore her grief and wished her wretched woes away? And he couldn't even hold out or show sweet love to ease her misery, for Master would surely sell her away, and without each other, what would this hell be? So he secretly wrote her sorrow in a silent song that she'd never get to sing, and all the joy she never felt was somewhere deep inside of him. Yes, he wrote her sorrow in a silent song that she'd never get to play, and all the joy she never felt is somewhere deep inside us today. And so today we honor our ancestors for their love, their courage, and their silent songs. And we treasure our music every day because our music does what it must. But what do we call these silent songs that articulate our lives with such pizzazz? Lord knows we call all our music marvelous, but this, God, let us call it jazz. So thank you so much. I am going to bring to the stage now my pleasure, my sister friend,
Yes.
our pie-making, poetic percussionist,
Yes.
Sister Karen Smith. Show her some love. She is so worthy. Thank you.
I don't think they're gonna believe you unless they see a sample of that pie.
No, I have to get a fork. I'm going to. Don't worry about it.
Can you demonstrate your pie? Can you show off your pie?
Oh, absolutely.
And I had 2 pies last night because we had poetry last night as well at the Historical Society.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so there will be pie tonight,
Yeah.
along with other goodies. This is a celebration. It's a celebration of art and culture and literature and poetry and poetry. So, once again, some mighty love, mighty love for Sister Karen Smith and her partner in crime, Donna. And they call her Noise, and she don't make no noise at all. All right, thank you.
See if I can try to capture it all.
The good, the bad, and indifferent.
think we warmed it up. Sandra, it's your turn now. You're going to. It's your turn. Are you still setting up? We're stalling? One more, okay. I was gonna do something.
What? Two? Me?
Yeah. You had a phone.
I have the phone.
I'm sorry, I'm chef too, so I'm trying to set up food. Okay.
I have the phone. I gotta come get it out. Oh, God, see, that's what I told you. You are. This piece is entitled, I Wonder, Don't You? A ghost town. Icy nighttime seems a joy to me. So quiet, so mysterious. Not a soul walking the streets. This is a time when no one can count the cars driving on the roads because there aren't any. Makes me wonder and question, is this the way it's supposed to be? Days come and go. Days turn into nights, and nights turn into days. And people are still leaving us. COVID doesn't play. Yet I wonder, and I question, is this the way it's supposed to be? To reach that point of no return? Is it just a virus or something more? So I wonder, and I question, is this the way it's supposed to be? Or will we go back to the death that brought us death? Or will we dig down deep and see what is really happening here? Yet I wonder, and I question, does the planet go back to the creatures that roam freely? Or do we remain at the bottom of the food chain and just stay the same? Oh, I almost forgot. But God gave us a brain. And to make it worse, He gave us choice. Yet, I wonder and I question, will we remain the same? Is this the way it's supposed to be? The word no comes to mind. Yet I wonder and I question, but the air seems so fresh and clean, and the waters seem to be bluer and flowing gently out to sea as the sound of crickets and tweets catch my ears. The sounds of silence overtakes me in the darkness. So I ask myself, is this the way it's supposed to be? When I hear no sirens blowing, no horns honking, no trolley cars chugging along, no buses or trucks on the road, there is actually express on the expressway. Who knew? Can we grow to love this? Or is that all there is? I heard that line in a song somewhere. I chose to believe that the human is a form created by God to do good in the world. Yet I wonder and I question, is this the way it's supposed to be? Don't you wonder? Usher.
That's all I do. I make a lot of noise. Sorry. I apologize.
So I'm going to bring up my wonderful friend and artistic support and just sister girl. Yes? You saying yes?
Yes.
I'm getting signs from off stage. Wave bye-bye? You said no.
5 minutes, 5 minutes.
All right. They were right. Come on up.
You'll make it do what it do. John. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Let me get something first. I don't know if any of you were here previously, and Sandra was getting ready to mention. I put together this collection of poetry called Philly John's Four Women Revisited, a 2020 anthology in tribute to Nina Simone. This collection has 40 black and brown women poets from Philly in legacy to Nina Simone. The chapters are broken up into 9 chapters named after songs made famous by Nina Simone. And so Karen is in the book, and Donna is in the book, and Sandra's in the book, and there's some other names. The Philadelphia Poet Laureate, Trapita Mason, is in the book, the Youth Poet Laureate, Sidney Brown, the former Poet Laureate, Yolanda Wisher, and names that are women who have worked in the community, activists in the community. Maybe their names are not so well known, but we are a sisterhood. And so I want to thank Sandra for inviting me to present today. My husband was supposed to join us. When we perform together, we're known as Red and the Dread, so you can guess which one I am, right? Red. So I'm going to share actually a poem that I've done before. All of us have performed together at various times. And this is actually a poem that he wrote, and I liked it so much because it was like an introductory poem, and we were going to do this together. He drums and he plays the keyboard and all of that. We had this whole setup, but he wasn't feeling well. So called Karen and Donna. I said, hey, and Eugene said, let me catch a ride with you all. And, we're going to bring this together. So as Sandra said, we're going to wing it. We're going to wing it, and we're going to make it do what it's doing. Let's walk the path between tall grass that many feet have beaten to this circle where the drums play and our souls sit silently waiting. As we're passing by a raccoon spire, there's a damn crier with notes like fluted reeds, softly playing the melody of the earth beneath our feet. As we step towards the circle and an ever-pulsating beat, the tall grass broke by a riverside where a wise young lady sat. She waited for her fish to jump so she could share her catch. Jump to the jump, 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 jump to the jump, 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 jump to the jump, 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 jump to the jump, jump. Let the line of this rhythmic beat catch you with a hook into your minds, pull you from any murky depths to the light of the warm sunshine as the piper plays the chorus and this temple starts to swirl. Let's dance in a circle of humanity. Woman, man, boy and girl, woman, man, boy and girl, woman, man, human. Let's dance. Thank you. And I don't know if we formally even introduced Karen besides being the pie maker and the percussionist and the poet and the playwright. Karen is the leader of an ensemble called Sisters Laying Down Hands. It's a multi-genre ensemble, so dancers, singers, poets, whomever. I'm not sure, I think I have about 20 minutes, and so what I want to do, since again I had to adjust, on November 20th, I shared a piece. Eugene was there, Karen was there, and Donna was there. I call it a prose poem, memoir in 4 vignettes. It's about my mother, who she passed away in October, on October 15, 2001, so 20 years ago. And when I was 9 years old, my father gave me a book. My mom had gone to the hospital for 9 months. She suffered from a mental illness. He gave me a book. I'm the oldest daughter. I'm the oldest and second oldest. And he said, you have to help me with your mother. So we lived through this. Family, we stayed together. And after she passed, I wanted to be able to write something that would address her life, address our life together, address the love we shared still, and humanize her, if you will, because we've suffered through trauma, right? And we often don't talk about that trauma. So in 2016, my husband, who's a professor of English at Community College of Philadelphia, he attended a conference, a creative writing conference in London, England. He actually was born in London, but in any case, he wrote an abstract and it was accepted, and so, he went to the conference, and I didn't get to go with him. That was his first time back home since he was 16 years old. So that at that time, I think it was about 30-something years. When he came back, he says, Deb, you should submit for next year and see what happens. So I wrote an abstract. It was, you have to write like 200 words. What are you going to write about? And I wrote the abstract, and it was accepted. So in 2017, this piece that I'm going to share with you, I presented it at that conference. Last November, it happened to be. My mom's birthday is November 30th. Karen called me and said, of course, we're all home on Zoom. And she said,
you know, I want you to do something for this project that I have. You and another poet, you're gonna have like 20 minutes. And whatever you do, I just need you to name a person creatively that people may not know. So I said to her, I said, well, I have this piece where I named Phyllis Wheatley. And if you don't know Phyllis Wheatley, I'm going to tell you about her in this piece. And I said, will that work? And she said, yes. So remember, 2017, and then I put it down. You know, like I did it, I was very proud and honored. And then last year, 2020, I did the piece. And then this year, on November 20th, a couple of weeks ago, Karen gathered a couple of us together. Again, Eugene was one of them. He had written a piece. She did what was called a Fragments Festival. Bits and pieces of artistry that people were working on, work in progress. And she said, even at the time that I read it online, she said, this is a very visual piece. You know, like you're reading it online, but I feel visual. I feel a dancer. I feel someone singing. I feel drums. So we did it there. And on top of that, she said, and afterwards, you know, we're going to have a Q&A. And I'm saying, well, what are we going to talk about? Like, you know, how did you feel? I mean, I just didn't have a clue. And there were about this many people there. And Karen said, basically, you know, does anybody have any reaction? And people started talking about their traumas or traumas in their family, but also about self-care. And then it dawned on me how powerful it was. I thought about it as a piece of writing that was cathartic for myself. But then I realized on that day how necessary it was for other people. So that's what I'm going to share today. I would like to sit down. Can I sit down?
That's the poet's chair.
Oh, this is the poet's chair? That's the poet's chair.
So when we did this piece, Donna played the role of my mother. My mother was very quiet, except when the voices came. So she became a different person. But Donna embodied that spirit. And we didn't rehearse this. I just said to Donna, you need to kind of be quiet, you know, pay attention to what I'm saying, drink your coffee, the cigarettes are on the table, don't smoke them for real, but, you know, my mother would smoke cigarettes. Make sure you have your head wrapped, head tied, dark glasses on the table, you may pick them up if you want. And she really embodied what I felt it there. Karen was here, of course. We had a dancer. So how we did it that day, just because, you know, in the dancer was 16. So we just had one meeting. I said, you know, like, when I do this, when I stand up, to read the poem, that's when you dance. It worked out perfectly. Thank you. Perfectly. So we're not going to do it that way, but I am just going to share this. Forgive me if I rush a little bit, just because I want to give the open mic folks time too, and I know we have another presenter. My mother's tongue. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's kind of feedback. A memoir 4 vignettes. Prologue. Her voice chants bells like the pentatonic scales of the steel-tongued drum. I speak of my mother, Corrine Brown Powell, who wrote on a purple handmade construction paper card dotted with multicolored stick-on stars and hearts, "Thinking of you for always thinking of me, Debbie." My response to that tangible love offering, an acrostic poem entitled Deborah. Determined to make a difference, I evidence my mother's wisdom with bodacious words and righteous rhythms wrapped round African curves. This is our story, my mother's and mine. She is my muse, and I am her Phyllis Wheatley, her first English-speaking offspring of African descent, granted the privilege and honor to present poems in London, England, and her only daughter to be published in America, Philadelphia to be exact. In an excerpt from one of Phyllis Wheatley's writings in her 1773 collection, Poems on Various Subjects, Religious and Moral, she professes, "I, young in life, by seeming cruel fate, was snatched from Africa's fancy happy seat. What pangs excruciating must molest, what sorrows labor in my parents' breast? Poetry heals hurts." Self-described Black lesbian mother warrior poet Audre Lorde in her 1970 prose piece, "Poetry is Not a Luxury," wrote in part, quote, "But as we become more in touch with our own ancient Black non-European view of living as a situation to be experienced and interacted with, we learn more and more to cherish our feelings and to respect those hidden sources of our power from where true knowledge and therefore lasting action comes." End quote. I heard my voice chant bells like the pentatonic scales of the steel-tongued drum. She said, "I am Black, daughter, mother, lover, writing myself to life." Chapter 1. They say a girl becomes a woman when she loses her mother. You, my child, were born a woman. Edwidge Danticat. Before I emerged from my mother's womb in January 1957, I had already been mothered by the DNA of thousands of years of African ancestry in places like Nigeria, Cameroon, Mali, Senegal, and Ghana. She, my birth mother, was born in 1935 on a cotton-picking farm in Tennille, Georgia, rooted by the prehistoric bones of Lucy and future unnamed generations of ancient Fulani women. Her mothering of me was mostly quiet and serene, accomplished between the work-from-home moments of cooking, cleaning, and caring for me and my 5 other siblings while our father went to work. Although she completed her 65 physical years on this planet in October 2001, my presence here and now is evidence that my mother continues to offer me lessons from a realm to which I have not yet been invited to join. I have intuited many teachings from my mother's tongue, because I now believe her to have been a personification of the goddess Oshun. I have come to accept that a natural mystic regularly whispered in her ear a voice only she could hear. At times, when she spoke to herself or the air in an unknown language, or I had witnessed her writing in hieroglyphics, I realized that she said and read words that only she could comprehend. When I was 9, my father gave me a book about her and explained as best he could that the doctors called her condition schizophrenia. Still, I remember her mothering as the sweet waters of a rainforest, a gift, hers and mine. In the book, The Art of Death, writing the final story by Edwidge Danticat, she wrote, quote, "There's no such thing as simple mourning for anyone really, except that as writers, our grief becomes woven into the fabric of our work, as well as into our source material," end quote. Somewhere between the many times that I have spoken words to myself or listened to my mother's tongue or read the works of women of color poets and writers or swayed to songs by beyond extraordinary African diasporan vocalists or simply gathered with my sister friends, I wrote, found this poem within the words that poured in. Our lives bear witness to love and struggle stories. We who are now women share our girlhood past, surrounding ourselves in sisterhood and mother love. We who are now willing must wear our survivor identities, wrap ourselves in strength, courage, wisdom, and scars, because we who have been wounded by shame and sorrow have found for women collective healing. We have been there, done lots of this and that, then when we became woke by artists and activists, our ancestors divined that now, while in our right minds and open hearts, this is the time to share and say, we will welcome you while you mother yourselves. Talking to you, baby girl, black girl, woman, all you sisters in search of soul, seekers of higher ground. We have faced displacement many more moons than twice. Some with our potions of oatmeal and yogurt, we've conjured that our juju makes the man. Talking to you who in the night might have named yourselves Olivia, you who stake claim that your rivers run deep. Talking to you little black girls who wear your aphrodisiac sweet like sexy Sadie. You 4+ women who have lost to distance your loose connections of sisterhood, talking to you who call yourselves a rogue in grace. You who have forgotten how we fall. We can heal ourselves amidst the safety of Soledad summer. Our worst day that never happened can lead to new beginnings. Originally speaking, we already possess the power to do another woman thing. Remember that beneath your rough edges, your nappiness is happiness. Embrace your true colors of womanhood. Show that you've moaned like Nina's M.O. Then just be the high priestess that you are. Ashe. Chapter 2. Nina Simone said, an artist's duty, as far as I'm concerned, is to reflect the times. In her autobiography, I Put a Spell on You, Nina Simone wrote, I was seduced by the Africa in my mind, my mythical home. My Africa had no countries, just hundreds of different peoples mixed through history into a rough cocktail and forced to seed an exiled nation in a far-off country. My great-grandfather, grandma, daddy, mama, and me, end quote. Although I had not yet stepped foot onto my ancestral land, I imagined that my matrilineal trees of life, firmly planted into her fertile soil, bear beige bamboo to blue-black sycamore branches, thick and long with leaves the color of fall, surrounded by autumn's foliage. Borsan Shire, author of Teaching My Mother How to Give Birth, wrote, at the end of the day, it isn't where I came from. Maybe home is somewhere I'm going and never have been before. I am African, because my righteous roots grow revolutionary into a mass of tangled strands that I've twisted into self-styled blackness. I am coiffed by Africa's ancestral spirit, a Fulani spirit, bounded by baobab roots. I'm grounded by Africa's blackness, I am threaded with her cultural strands, her rhythmic strands that make me boogie to the blackness bellowed by the roots. You know that music is revolutionary because it is Africa's. Therefore, I embrace Africa's earthy strands, awash in a revolutionary sun-soaked spirit, drenched in roots, drowned in the lightness of blackness, my blackness, colored by Africa's regal rich roots, her natty dread strands like tight until I hear my Swahili spirit speaking in tongues revolutionary. So revolutionary that blackness dwells in my spirit, lives in my African Saharan strands, resides in my dark desert roots. I am blessed with the spirit of these roots, coiled into revolutionary strands with a blackness that is forever Africa's. I am she. Chapter 3, thank you. When I was just a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be rich? Will I be pretty? Here's what she said to me. Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera, what will be, will be. When I was just a little girl, I recall my mother softly vocalizing this song as she went about her household chores, or she sat drinking cup after cup of Maxwell House coffee and smoking Winston cigarettes at the kitchen table in our 3-story Philadelphia row home across the street from the floor-blocked long stone wall of the Germantown Cricket Club. I also do not sing politics. In fact, I do not sing well. I merely attempt to write the truth. And one of those truths is that my mother's tongue had sometimes been silenced by the side effects of lithium and Haldol. And to tell another truth, I am certain that an additional source of her silence was that she wore the hashtag of Me Too before it became famous, before meeting my father. After too many years to count in his own distress about her mental state, my father told this horrible news to me and my siblings, even though he had been sworn to secrecy by my mother's sister. Finally, at the age of 21, 13 years after I had learned the word schizophrenia, and not long after I had become a mother, I began to understand the source of my mother's trauma. In that moment, I also began to take my own steps toward self-care because I, too, had borne the silence of Me Too from a long ago encounter from a man now dead. If you are silent about your pain, they will kill you and tell you if you enjoy it. Zora Neale Hurston. Thankfully, I have become unsilenced. With my voice, I have allowed myself to benefit from therapy, poetry, the listening ear of my husband, and the sisterhood of women like Me Too founder Tarana Burke, who said, "It is important to acknowledge the trauma, but even more crucial to cultivate joy. Pleasures await. You need not wait on the precipice of murky waters, waiting for ecstasy to envelop you or to drown away your darkness. Truth be told to thine own self. Truth to thine own self be true. Remind you of new healing rhythms, your rhymes, your profound and poetic rhymes. You possess them under the stimuli. Lavish your life in letters like love sounds, spelling your name in the sun, in the rain. And when you remember your words, put your poem to music. Play it again and again and again and again. You'll see yourself swimming in the natural beauty have relationships with other people until you give birth to yourself.
Wow.
About 25 years ago, before receiving the second place award in the 1997 Sonia Sanchez Audrey Lorde Poetry Writing Contest, I met a woman whose name I do not recall at the Free Library of Philadelphia. We were there with about 10 other people, men and women, for a poetry writing workshop conducted by a then English professor and still friend of mine, Dr. Dooley Vanette Onima. One by one, she asked us to stand, introduce ourselves, and tell our purpose for being in that room. I was Deborah Powell at that time, and probably said something like, to learn how to write poetry. The name I do not recall woman was less shy and much more eloquent. She told us that she had first been a daughter, then a wife, then a mother, then a divorcee, then a sculptress, then a magazine writer. Then she shared about 6 other significant moments in her life to explain where she had been. She ended with, and now I am on my 13th life, and in the process of figuring out what that life looks like for me. The next week, as the lesson required, I reintroduced myself, incorporating the fictionalized version of the truth of what will be, as an artist reflecting the times 7 years before I met my husband, 10 years before I had experienced my mother's death. This is the very first poem I spoke in public. I began my first life by being birthed from a womb weighted with wounds, which some say may cause me to forget to remember reminders of my most memorable self, but I do remember. I remember that quickly I strutted to phase 2. It was the phase in which I wore some wicked wear to test my wiles on a soon-to-be husband who I humped to stage 3 on Wednesday nights before work wore him down and out. The 4th found me belching out babies, 4 before controlled birth failed, before reaching my quarter century. It was a sometimes hard pill to swallow, but I survived the 5th dimension with the 6th sense that family was forever. I rewarded them, they rewarded me with love lessons learned. Therefore, 7th heaven lasted long until they left me. I left me like an 8 ball on the edge of a corner pocket. So in the ninth inning, I milked men for making me mad enough that tears tightened around my neck. But then I counted to 10. Backwards, seeking self until the imprints left footprints facing forward. I slow walked to 11. Gained strength to run to 12, and now I am on my 13th life. Those love lessons will let me live this life less labored. I am blessed to be born again. Amen, and I share. Lost my last page. Oh, no. Here we go. Epilogue. And just for my own self, I put pictures and, when I presented it. And so this is a picture of my mom with her head tied. And it was at my sister's wedding. And so my mom might wear jeans for 4 or 5 days, but she was in that state, and like I said, she would have her head wrapped and so tightly sometimes that it formed like a knot on her head. We had this wedding to go to, and so I was trying to figure out how can I have her dressed and presentable, but still feel like herself. I I can't remember, maybe it was Ross, you know, one of those stores like Ross, or, you know, I can't remember the ones, you know, ladies, the one we ain't going to Macy's, you know what I'm talking about, right? And so I found this 3-piece outfit. It was a tunic, it was gray, had the scarf, which I could use as her head, and like wide pants, because I've never seen her in a dress, you know? And like I said, it was my sister's wedding, and you know, my mom was pretty okay then. She was on medication, but you know, a little bit scattered, and so my sister, you know, wanted me to be in her wedding, and I said, well, somebody's got to look after mommy, you know? So I'm going to walk mommy down the aisle, and, you know, we're going to do that, and, you know, Dad will be there, and, you know, and I hold her hand, and that was part of the ceremony, you know, because I had on an all-gray outfit. So anyway, I just wanted to take this picture of myself in head wrap and put it next to hers. The epilogue reads, I remember the nights we danced to reggae rhythms and the days I bathed your brown skin beauty. Not because of any sense of duty, but because I knew those moments would be the ones that showed you love. I will remember those moments, Mom. Thank you. Okay, I think that's it. Come on in.
Mercy, show some more love in this room. When you peek, open your soul up like that and show it to everybody. Girl, I love you.
I love you too. Thank you. I thank you all for listening.
I have been a poet for a very long time. At the age of 13, my honors English teacher paraded me onto the auditorium stage and told all my classmates that I was going to be a great poet. And I was very upset by that, because she didn't know my classmates like I did. But I had won a poetry competition in the 7th grade at high school, junior high school, and she was so happy for me. She didn't know that I was going to have to fight on the way home from school. Yes, indeed. Little girl came up to me, oh, so you think you're going to be a poet? And she proceeded to tell me that she's going to whoop me all the way home. Now, what she didn't know is that I had a brother. And my brother was not going to let any of his sisters out the house unless they could take care of themselves. So we had to box. We're not fighting. I'm talking bobbing, weaving, uppercuts, the whole thing. You know, so I said, okay, I'll be there. I never had to fight again, not ever. You think tiny little girls with long hair, And she came at me like, so that's how I defended my poetry. I had to fight. And Mrs. Myers didn't know that, and I didn't know how to tell her. You know, I was like, you don't want to do that. We're going to keep this under wraps for a while, but, you know, it happened. And I know so many young girls and young boys have to go through the same kind of thing. Because you don't understand, if somebody congratulates you, if somebody recognizes some love in your life, they want to take it away.
I wanted to share one more piece that I was going to share when my husband is here, if you don't mind.
Well, you know what? We're gonna go around and I'm gonna finish with you, so you can close this out. Would that be good?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I know it's hard. People don't understand. You do this because you have to. It's not something that you want to do. If you're a poet, you are charged with doing that. So don't let anything or anybody ever keep you from doing that. So now, I would like to show off some of my poets. Yes, I've been a poet for a long time, but I've been a poet presenter, opening doors for other poets all my life. All the stuff that I needed, I said, let me give this to somebody else. And I'm grateful for that. And I just got an email from Trapita. She is featuring one of my poems in the Poet Laureate online on Monday. And I'm so sorry, I can't even remember which one that is, but it's for a week. Yeah. But it's about health and healing and mental illness. And so I just hope it's worthy. And it's about supporting our children and encouraging. Healing verse poetry, yes. And there's a phone number. I'll put it online so that everyone can get it. And I have been told that I will be appointed Poet Laureate of the City of Camden in 2022. Thank you. I'm very honored by that. The mayor actually made that announcement without telling me first. I was like, okay. And then he said, and now we're going to hear from her. And I'm going like, okay. And I'm just so grateful that I did have a book of poetry in my car. So the other thing is, always carry your love with you. You know, don't go nowhere without a gig bag, okay? That's it. So, that being said, and we are moving a little closer to the end. Let me see these hands again. Ah, yes.
Poets.
Okay.
There's a poet right there.
So, all right. Can I begin with Arthur Taylor, please? Because the last time he was here, he rocked the house with a magnificent poem. And I still haven't sent it to you. I recorded it.
Yeah, I need that.
You know, that's when Lamont Dixon was here. And Lamont was one of my dearest friends. We actually met at a poetry competition at the Walt Whitman Arts Center. And between the two of us, we set a lot of poets down. And it came to the point where it was a tie between he and I. And so we became friends from that moment. I said, okay, you going over to Zanzibar Blue? He said, where? He said, no, I'm just starting. I said, oh. And I pulled his coat, and we were the best of friends for the longest, to the point that when his first daughter was born, at 2 o'clock in the morning, he calls me from the hospital. I said, I am really your sister. I love that. Symphony and Sahara. And we are going to do, and for anybody who doesn't know, Lamont was featured here in September. His birthday is in September, and when I called him and told him I wanted to feature him, I think he had the nerve to think that I forgot his birthday, and I did not. So we had a birthday celebration for him that night, and he died in October. Not long after that. It was like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was like, and my sister, poet, pie making percussionist, she knows everything first. She knew. And I got the phone call, I said, that can't be right. So I called Lisa, and I could tell his wife from the way she answered the phone that it was true. But what people didn't know, Lamont suffered with kidney disease for 10 years. And at my poetry series in Cooper River Park at Hopkins House, he came to do some poetry for me. And I said, why are you so skinny? He said, ha, ha, ha. You and my wife, y'all just jealous because I'm skinnier than you. I said, now you know I don't play. So you got to get that checked out today. Promise me that. And he did. He left the poetry and he went to Cooper Hospital emergency ward. And they kept him. He was in renal failure. And the doctor told him that day, if you weren't here seeing me today, you would not see tomorrow. But for 10 years, he was on dialysis 3 days a week. And he's still home with me. Nobody could get him out the house but me. That's what Lisa said. And I was featured at South with Arpegia. And I called Lamont. I said, hey. He said, nah. I said, hey. And he came out and did that day with us, and it was a great day. But every once in a while I could get him out. But he was a magnificent father. He was an outstanding poet. Oh, he had a program called Louder Than a Bomb, because his name was Napalm the Bomb. And he did that for Rutgers University, and it was amazing. So come April, come Poetry Month, we will be celebrating Lamont Dixon, because he said, no funeral, no celebration, no nothing for 6 months. I don't know the logic behind that, but we will still be there. We're not going to forget him. I will not let a poet be forgotten. So, the date is already set. I believe it's April 15th. because I do third Fridays here. And already I'm hearing from Rutgers and everywhere else, we're going to do a celebration that is worthy of the love that brother brought to this world. Okay, so now I'm really going to call Arthur up and have him do a poem for us. And then this lovely young lady here, who you got to write something down for me so I can introduce you properly. You know, Arthur is a dear friend, a teacher, a dancer, an artist, a producer, you know, he does it all. And we've been doing this battle in the city of Camden for many, many years. Yeah. All right, so show some love for Mr. Arthur Taylor.
Thank you so much. So I'm really excited about being here. This is only my second time presenting, and I was going to say something about Lamont as well because of the fact that it was just an honor to stand in his presence. I've seen this guy's work, and to be able to be on stage and have him witness me, the birth of me as a poet, you know, was sensational. So the poem I have for you today is called The Blood We Share. I wrote this poem for my Uncle Phil. Now, there's been a lot going on the internet, and a lot of people are hating social media and all of that stuff. In fact, today at school, many students didn't show up because I don't know if you knew there was this threat that went out on TikTok. Today was National Shootable School Day, and so my homeroom was completely empty today. And so of like 900 kids in school, there were probably about 150 at school today. And so people have a lot to say about social media. Well, I can never praise social media enough because it brought me my uncle. And I mean that literally. My dad, whose father left him at a young age and had another family, divorced his mother and married another family and kind of disowned him to an extent, and had a son that we knew about, my brothers and sisters and I, but we never had met him. And finally, my sister, in her frustration, went on Facebook and contacted all the Phil Taylors and said, hey, we are looking for you. And fortunately for us, he was there. And so he had but to talk and to walk into the room and us witness how he favored our dad, was to know that this was the right man. So I wrote this poem for him. It's called The Blood We Share. And a lot of reference to things, because I'm originally from Washington, D.C., the DMV, and so there's some references there. And also, you know, the fact that we're playing catch up now. So it's called The Blood We Share. The blood we share moves through us in pulses that pumps our hearts with laughter and memories. Memories of long forgotten cab rides to places that smell of cherry blossoms, soft nectar that fills the night sky with tickles and giggles, wrapped in the mirrors of childhood. So strong that even those we've forgotten make the wrinkle in our foreheads lift with pats on the heads that say, son, I love you. This blood is wise and dwells in caverns surrounded by stalactites, dripping truth, into lakes of love and ponds of passion that run deep, 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 deep. And if blood is truly thicker than water, let it move and crest and crash over and over. Let the tide roll in and out, in and out, in and out, until our misgivings and the ugliness of men is broken like the continental shelves, ever changing, until the moon rises and forces a pull so strong it may not be resisted. This blood swings and dances in old rundown holes in the wall, juke joints where men are cats and women as intoxicating as jasmine and honeysuckle on warm velvet summer's eves, where laughter of children make grandmothers open old recipes. Love, licking fingers to the folded pages of heritage in their memories. This blood which rises and falls in sacred ceremonies that breaks hearts in places of denial, whose heart was broken at denial. Yet, this place where yeast rises with walls of newspapers, singing songs of sad old men traveling with me down a new road where none have traveled. Paths that whisper a new old song, fresh and popping in ears, like things ain't what they used to be. In and out, in and out. Here now we stand, crisp and fresh, no pretenses, just love, love, all love. Not having time to hate, but drinking the mineral water from those lakes of love. I be, you be, we be family. And even though time has tried to play us, we be all right. Let us run to catch up and create new universes where we can have the last laugh at time and make that silly old man bend at the knees even though he complains and hacks despair. Together, we shall make him a liar, and we will sing, things ain't what they used to be, no. Thank you.
Like the sound of your voice. You on tap for us one day too. Yeah, actually, there's an opportunity to get some more work done in the city of Camden, some women's history programs, and some other things. Prior to being Director of Art and Culture for the County of Camden, I was Director of the Walt Whitman Arts Center, even the aquarium. It was, I don't know what God was doing, but he kind of took me through. So, okay, the next young lady gives me the name of Crystal. Sorry about that. I see S-T-L-E. Crystal Bailey, author and poet. And when you get here, if you could just tell us quickly where you're from, you know, and how we can get your work. Okay? So, show some love. Show some love. For Crystal Bailey.
Thank you. Hi. I feel completely out of my league, but I have some short poems, or I have one short poem that I'd like to share with you tonight. My name is Crystal Bailey. Sorry, I just spit my gum out. My name is Crystal Bailey. I'm an author. I wrote a book called Nourish, A Journey to Loving and Embracing the Woman Within. That came out in 2017. And I'm a freelance writer. I write blog content, social media content, website stuff for various businesses. Mostly, I'm a mom of two. I spend most of my time doing that. So I am friends with Maurice, who threw me over the edge and just said, hey, you're gonna perform. And here I am. So the poem I'd like to share with you, it's called Deeply Rooted. I have a tattoo that I got a couple years ago on my arm. It's just a tree woman that I really felt connected with, and so my poem is about her. I got the tattoo first and came home and wrote a poem about her. Deeply connected to those who came before her, those who bore the burdens, those who paved the way, those who gave rise to her existence. Roots of generations past intertwined with the roots of her earthly experience. Love, loss, trauma, triumph, joy, sadness, and anger, and a deep connection to all that is pure, all that is good, and all that is real. These are the roots that build, the roots that withstand the wind, the rain, the storm, the roots that hold her majestic being and allow her to become all that this wrinkle in time needs her to be. She embodies an ineffable strength. The heartwood that sits at the core of her being is filled with love, overflowing as it extends outward. The giving of her heart and soul freely and unapologetically. She is abundant. Dead branches fall away as new leaves bloom. She may be broken, she has withstood the storm. Yet she is powerful beyond measure. She loves like being broken didn't hurt. She expands, she provides shelter, she blossoms, she wilts, she cries, and licks the sweet taste of her own sap off the bark of her lips, finding comfort in her own vulnerability. She is strength in every sense of the word. She is abundant, she is deeply rooted, she is love. Thank you.
You are not out of your league, buddy.
Yes, indeed. Very good. Please come back and share again. We are here every third Friday, once a month. Okay. Our next poet has been with me for a while, probably like 2006. He goes by the name of the composer. Please welcome Eugene Brown to the mic.
Thank you, Sandra. I'm usually the comic relief of the poets. Last night I did a poem called Fruitcake. Tonight I'm doing waffles versus pancakes. I'm a waffles guy. I like a few nooks and crannies in my mix. It's more interesting and tasty as opposed to a pancake, which is bland and flat. I don't like it like that. I think a waffle has more substance than a pancake, plus more to hold on to, not completely flat, like they say, flat as a pancake. Plus for me, for some reason, even though they both made from the same batter, a waffle tastes so much better. The difference is a pancake is fried in a pan or griddle, while a waffle is poured into its own waffle iron, which makes it a little more personal. Sort of like the pan pizza versus the oven baked pizza. Maybe that's why a waffle has better personality. That is why I vote for the waffle versus the pancake in the batter game. Waffle is more crisp and has more of a balanced pattern than a pancake, which seems to seep and can be uneven and go run off in many directions. So a pancake isn't as disciplined as a waffle. It keeps it steady and conformed. That's my norm when it comes to these two batter-filled breakfast items. Usually topped with syrup and butter by many, sometimes some fruit, something to hold on to versus something running away from you. Which one do you want in your life? Thank you.
Well, that's a good lead-in because we have some delicious goodies for you right afterwards. You know, we even have pie. We had apple pie, homemade vegan apple pie, prepared for us by the pie making percussionist, poet, friend, producer. Karen does it all, I'll tell you. Miss Karen Smith. So, I am delighted to introduce another poet. Brian Marangi. Am I saying it right? Welcome, brother. This is your first time to our dear.
So I'm not even a poet, but she pointed to me and said, and I was like, no. So, you should have said,
I bet you are.
I'm not a poet. I'm not in my league. That was awesome. I'm a pancake guy. So. I felt like this was more about healing. And I was tired today. And then I'll come to support my friend Crystal. And I told her, well, about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I'm gonna get my second win. So here I am.
All right.
And I got inspired, right? Because we have a lot going on in the world, as we all know. So this light lit me, and that's amazing. Anyhow, I'm Kevin Hart short, so let me put this down. So, I used to be a comedian. I'm actually taller.
You still are.
Yeah. So, I'm not a poet. This is not a poem, but it's how I felt. So, this is from a book that I'm writing. It's called The Runner. This ain't a track story. When I was 9 years old, my mother told me that she couldn't take care of me anymore and that I should find somewhere else to sleep. I asked her when she coming back, and she said never. And to just know that she loves me. How did I interpret that when I only experienced the abandonment? I cannot know that she did that to try to save my life. Maybe she felt inadequate as a mother. Maybe her drug addiction prevented her from being the best mom she could be. So my experience was A, I'm being abandoned, and B, I'm not wanted. So this sense of abandonment shows up in my relationships decades later with the slightest instance. If I'm not wanted, then I need to compensate for it. And the way to compensate is to become a really successful martial artist where people will want me all the time. I know it's a devious plan, but that being wanted in its deepest sense is never satisfied by anything externally, which is why it's so addictive. I just keep going for it and going for it. This is how I became a workaholic karate guy. The phone call comes in, a student has a problem, this student's falling apart, the other wants to kill themselves, and the list goes on and on. Brian Boat to the rescue. Every time I wanted it, so it became a workaholic. What then is this impact on my family as a father who's always away, physically or emotionally? A lot, because his needing to have his existence validated, because the sense of worth was undermined when he was just a young child. It was nobody's fault, it's just the way it went. My coping patterns, alienation, detachment, loneliness, disassociation, addiction are totally tuned out, became the source of my strength and the dysfunction throughout my life. Parenting circumstances are stressful, and if the parent is stressed, the child becomes stressed. The child will tune out to protect themselves. This is a normal response to an abnormal circumstance of parental stress. So our childhood dysfunction is actually the outcome of our parents' distress, which gave us mental illness, like depression or suicidal thoughts, or physical illness like eating or body dysmorphia, which we made as a childhood coping mechanism. And we children are so narcissistic. We think it's all about us, so when bad things are happening, the child believes that it's all about them, and then they having to compensate for that. So how did I compensate for that? I developed some of the coping mechanisms listed above. The fears and mechanisms that I formed as a child in order to survive stay with me for my entire life. Now I'm aware of them and know why I do what I do as my career for helping others, putting others first and trying to be the rescue boat. This is why I didn't last long in relationships. I'm always waiting for the moment when I'm going to be abandoned. But without even knowing it or knowing it, I'm the one that actually abandons, with my distance, with my lack of showing emotion, or my lack of constant communication. I can be isolated for a few days without showing any signs of life, which is very confusing and unbalancing to the people who want to be in my life. So this is my detachment addiction, how I dealt with my parents' issues, the drug addiction, and my abandonment. It was very traumatic. You see, the trauma didn't happen to me, the trauma happened inside me. And as a result of these traumatic events with my parents' drug addiction and abandonment, I got disconnected from my mind, emotions, and I got disconnected from my body. I had a very difficult time being in the present moment. Even to this day, it comes and goes. In my youth, my sense of the world and the people around me was also negative. I also had a negative self-image, negative self-worth, and I didn't love myself while also feeling I did not deserve to be loved. These perspectives kept showing up in my childhood from age 8 when my world went to shit, up until about age 16 when I started to realize what was wrong with me and that I had needed to go inward, realizing what was wrong with me by admitting to myself that I'm hurting and in pain emotionally and mentally, and then outward, speaking about my feelings with someone I trusted and who would not judge me. It took a lot of patience with myself because I continued to feel ashamed. I didn't know that I was blaming myself for my parents' decisions, which had directly affected me and that were out of my control. Taking back my life and my identity was and still is a work in progress. I have a very positive self-image now, a very optimistic mindset, and I love myself. I'm at peace with those who did me wrong by having the necessary and sometimes uncomfortable discussions to promote and give me closure in order to foster healthy relationships with everyone around me. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Really, that is about healing. And I know we all have a story that talks about our lives and the things we went through, but praise be to God. we live and we stand and we help others through their lives as well. So thank you so much, Brian. Okay, I want to introduce our host in Cynthia's absence tonight. Okay? Hi.
Cynthia's texting me every 2 seconds.
And Greg too. You thank you. Listen. If we started out early, we could pack this place and be here. Who remembers the Arts Bank years ago? Where we'd be in there 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, poets still being poets, you know? But we've got to honor the lay of the land. And we need to give Cynthia a round of applause, because I tell you, she opens her doors for her. We've been friends, we've been doing things for a long, long time, probably about 30 years before she started IDEA. So, and when she calls, I come, you know? And I'm grateful for that, but I want to celebrate this entire year of poetry. We have some delicious refreshments for you, including the vegan apple pie. Yes, absolutely. But also, you know, we got some fried chicken. I mean, if you're not a vegan, can I see? Yeah, you know, okay. Everybody loves chicken. But I want to thank you, and we want to honor Cynthia and be out of here on time and make sure we take the trash out so she don't have no visitors here when she come back on Monday, okay? No uninvited guests. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for celebrating the Word, because the Word is how we all come to be. And so, thank you again. Good night. Come next door and enjoy yourself. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I was forgetting.
I have to do this.
I want to bring my special guest, my sister Deborah, back to the mic and do her last poem. Thank you.
The reason why I wanted to come back up, as I said, I had a set all figured out with my husband, and I was going to do this poem. It's called Daddy's Girls. My father's birthday is today. He's passed away, but he would have been 89 years old today. And I also want to shout out Kia Knight, who's sitting right there. Today is also her birthday. She's in the book. She wasn't planning to get here because she was celebrating her birthday with her boo, but here she is. So happy birthday, Kia. Do y'all remember when daddies would wait, no matter how late, for the kitchen to come to him? He'd make no mixed up, no-name stew like black-eyed peas and greens he knew we couldn't even swallow. When washing pots and pressing locks were a mama's down-home duties, well, my daddy knew these chores were shared for the love of those who were his heirs. Yeah, my daddy has done it all. And remember when daddies played games like shooting dice from the hip, taught tackle and basement boxing, and took those long road trips with the boys in the family, left girls out, didn't think we should run, climb, or shout, when he didn't play games like jump rope or jacks, because most daddies didn't like playing games like that, but my daddy has done it all. And I remember when I had lost all my tears, and my daddy told stories to comfort my fears. Woke me in the morning to ease yesteryear's harms. My daddy embraced me and kept me from harm. And so when my daddy did these things, I knew I was loved from his core, because my daddy's a king, and so much more. So let's honor those daddies like mine. A daddy who's done it all. Yes, my daddy has done it all. Amen. I shake my hand.